Hey everyone, welcome back to Wix Fix. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today is going to be another episode of our series Editor X Simplified. In today's video, we're basically going to be focusing on simplifying the grid system here in Editor X. Now, you might be wondering why you might need a grid here in Editor X, and the main reason is, let's say you have a section that looks like this, and if we shrink down the website to, let's say, a laptop size screen, you could run into issues something like this. You don't want your content overlapping or hiding other elements on the page that's supposed to be visible. It looks unprofessional. It looks like it was done on accident. So this is something that a grid system would really help out with. But before we actually redesign this section here in a grid, I'm going to show you guys how you can actually add the grids here in Editor X. So right now we have our section selected, and we have two ways to add a grid here in Editor X. One, which is very simple, we can just select this drop down right here, and we can select a specific setting here. So if we do 2 by 1, it's going to have this grid line right here, and we can put content over here on the left, and we can put content over here on the right. Now you'll also notice that we actually have these things right here and the little thing over here on the left hand side for the row, but these actually represent the columns, and then these over here on the left represent the rows. So if we click on this, we'll notice that this little part over here highlights in the inspector panel. So let's just change this to 1.5 FR, and you'll notice it automatically moves the line over and gives us more space on this column. Now we can also just move it on the artboard itself. So we can just change it to something like this really easily. And same thing with rows, we can easily just change the height here as well. And unless we have an additional row, we can't really adjust it. But let's say we do want to add more rows after we've already added the grid. And this same concept applies for columns as well. You'll notice that we have an area for rows and an area for columns. So if we want to add a row, we just simply press this little plus icon right here. And you'll notice that we have our initial row, and then we have this row right here, which of course, if we grab this line, we can adjust the height manually here, or we can easily just click on this row, come down here and change the settings manually. Another thing that I would like to mention about these rows is they actually offer gaps here. So right here would be the horizontal gap. So if I just add 150 pixels, you'll notice that there is this area right here that kind of separated the two columns by 150 pixels. Same thing can be applied for the horizontal gap. So you'll see a line right here. Let's do like 60 pixels. And you'll notice that we have this gap right here, which is separating the two rows. Now, something to note about these is, let's just add an image in here. If we stretch this one, we'll copy and paste it. We'll put this one down here in this bottom row, and we stretch it. We'll notice that we have this 60 pixel gap that is separating our two images. So if I just come down here, if I select this section and come down here and remove the gap, they're now going to be up tight against each other. So especially image on image, you might want to have a small gap. So we'll do something like that. Another thing that I would like to mention is, let's just copy and paste this image again. We'll notice they just put it right here, but we'll also notice down here, we have the option to put it in whatever grid cell we want. So as I'm hovering over each one of these, you're kind of noticing it highlight on the artboard itself. So let's say we want this one to be in the top right, and then we can stretch it just like that. It is super simple. Another thing that we can do is, let's just copy and paste this image again. And let's say for this image, we actually want to cover both grid cells. So we can select this one right here, and holding shift, we can actually click this one and we can stretch it. And you'll notice it's taking up both grid cells, and it's even passing over our 60 pixel gap here. And same thing applies over here. So if I hold shift and click over here, it's going to take up the whole section, and it covers both of these gaps. So if you wanted an image in the background, but maybe you wanted text over here, text down here, text down here, text over here, you can do something like that and just have a background image taking up the entire section. But that basically kind of covers the whole grid system here in Editor X. But now let me kind of show you like a real world way of using it. So I'm just going to remove the grid here. And let's just rebuild that section that we initially saw at the beginning of this lesson. So I'm going to add a container here. Let's set this container to be like 70% width, maybe with a 900 pixel minimum width. And we'll just center it on the page, just like that. Let's also give us like 500 pixels to work with here. Perfect. And let's remove the background color from this container. Now here we can actually add a grid. So we'll add a 2x1 grid. Then we'll come over here to the gap and add like a 150 pixel gap here. Inside of here, let's go ahead and paste in an image. Maybe for this one, we want to be in the left or the right column. So we'll do that and we'll stretch it just like that. And then over here in the left, let's add a title, paragraph, and a button. Okay, so with all of these, we're going to send them to the left. Then we'll grab all three of these elements and press stack, just like that. And now with the stack selected, we can just center it here, just like this. And we can also set this stack to be 100% width. That way, when we resize the screen, it's going to look something like that, and it doesn't shrink or it doesn't cross over to the image, and the image doesn't cover the text and look all wonky. So this is the perfect example of when you might want to use a grid. It helps separate your content so they don't cross paths or cover each other or just look like an accident or unprofessional. Now, if you want to see more examples of a use in grid, we have plenty of web design videos here on the channel where I use grids and containers to really make responsive websites in Editor X. But that's basically going to wrap it up for today's video. If you all did enjoy, please consider giving this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more Editor X content coming out really soon. Thank you all again, and I'll see you all in the next one.